you can go ahead. And then after the launch goal, we can start talking about, what is the strategy, the high-level strategy to achieve that goal. And then we can start talking about implementation of the launch plan. In that involves, basically activities. And here, what we do is, we can do some pre-launch activities, some during launch, maybe some post-launch activities, marketing activities, and launch activities. And then, we prioritize launch activities and summary. Any thoughts that you guys have about this structure? I think it's going to become a little bit clearer once we walk through it.
Yeah, I think the structure is good. Should we ask about what the product is and what it does, like upfront, like from the interviewer?
That's a good point. Yeah, if I'm assuming that if you go to interview and it's about their product, that you would know, right?
Okay.
So maybe at that point, what you can do is, what I would do is say, hey, if I want to be on the same page with you, with interviewer, my understanding of the product is this, right?
Okay.
And you can sort of like get a description, get a confirmation that that is indeed what the product does.
Yep, makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was wondering if you would ask about which aspect of the product launch that you would assume, because obviously, right, a bike sharing program, it has many components, right? Are you launching the operational side of it, or are you, solely responsible for the digital side of it?
Sorry, Amy, you were cut off, brother. Can you say that again?
Yeah, so I was wondering if a valid question for the interviewer would be whether you're focusing on one aspect of the launch, whether it's operational side of the launch versus, say, the digital side of the launch, right? Because obviously a bike sharing program has many components.
Yeah, I don't know if at that point at the beginning I will ask that. Okay. By operational you mean
like how to get the bikes, where the bikes are going, how to maintain them, how to get bikes from one location to another location. So
yeah, exactly. Versus say, just building the application that's going to be consumer facing.
Yeah. I would imagine that, both of these are actually part of the question.
I see. Okay.
And probably this will have to be very much into the pre-launch.
Into what?
There's going to be a lot of operations during the pre-launch before getting ready for it. Okay. But I would imagine that both of them would be part of your answer. But definitely, it's a good question, right? You could definitely ask that, I think. I'm not a marketer, but if you guys have done marketing and this is how you've done it in the past, then by all means.
I think it's a good question to ask up front. Most interviewers are going to have some kind of idea of how they would do it. Mm-hmm. If you start asking questions in the beginning, they might be able to narrow the scope down to allow you to focus on some aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And it's good to have people that have more experience in marketing. Okay, so other than this, sound reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so let's start with the product. Okay. Let me write these things down. And I think here, like what you mentioned, I would start sort of confirming my understanding of the product with the interviewer. So, in a nutshell, what do you think is ride sharing? I mean, I don't know if you guys have looked at the for bike sharing or something like that is the name. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, there's Ford bike sharing all over.
Yeah.
There's Lime bikes. There's 2 or 3 or 4 of these around cities.
My understanding, and let's make it practical. Let's assume it's Ford bike sharing. What I read is like it's sort of like a time limited, and usually 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It's a bike ride, basically, ride rental for people, right? That's in a nutshell what it is. And it has, several plans. It has 3 plans, one for single ride, one for day ride, one for annual membership. Okay. And, that's sort of like what the product is, right? And this like this is $3 per ride, this is $10 per day, and this is like $150 per day. And the concept is that the rides are really limited by 30 minutes, right? So the weird concept is that if you take it for a day, it doesn't mean that you're taking the bike for the entire day. It means only that you can use it the entire day, and you have unlimited rides of 30 minutes each during the day. And for that, you pay $10. Sounds like a strange concept, right? But, obviously, let's talk about what the use is, right? So that's the product. 30 minutes.
Yeah, Milena, one question here. So I'll tell you, I've seen 2 different models of this. There was a company in Seattle called Pronto. Mm-hmm. What they did is they worked with the city of Seattle to set up some docking stations, whereby you would have to bring the bike back to that same location or any other location within the city. So, but Lime Bike's model is different. You can leave the bike anywhere, right? I mean,
it's a different concept, and Manchu. And so I wanted to focus on this concept because it's different.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah, makes sense.
The idea is that they have put so many stations in the city, right? That from any point to any other point is maximum 30 minutes, right? And so that's why they did that. Now, okay, so that's the product. Let's say that it hasn't been launched, and that's what they want to sell to people, right? So then here, let's talk about the customers and why would they be interested in this? Like, what is the value prop, right? What's the value prop? Before we talk about the value prop, I think we need to talk about the customers, okay? And who are they targeting, right? So when I look at this, I think that the people that they're targeting, and you guys can jump in also here and help me with this, is in general, is people that don't want to wait, and this is don't want to wait for transportation, want to have control, of when to leave, when to go somewhere. Maybe want a cheaper solution than the bus or the BART bus or share ride. And maybe they want to exercise, although I doubt it, but maybe they do. But in general, what they're looking for, I think, is to have control, not wait. And they want a cheaper solution, right? Perhaps exercise. Maybe some are concerned about the environment. And something that it's like they don't have to, it's more flexible than parking, and having a car. So, and I was thinking that there are three types of customers: people that are local to San Francisco, so they live in the city. There are people that come into the city, so these are like outsiders. Maybe they come from Mountain View, and they come maybe for the weekend or to work, and outsiders come for the weekend for pleasure, to have fun. And maybe you have here employees that come to work, right? And they drive or they take BART. Okay, what are your thoughts on this?
So I had a question. Isn't there overlap with, like, I guess, workers? There are locals who also work in the city, and
The communication is very bad, Rebecca. Maybe if you can type it.
Hi.
Hi. Much better. Rebecca? Did somebody hear Rebecca?
Yeah, she was saying that there is an overlap between the people who are local to SF and they work there. And
Himanshu, can you turn off your mic? Okay, thanks. Swati, can you repeat again?
yes, so what Rebecca was saying is that there is an overlap between the people who are local to SF and work in SF and people who are outsiders and who come to SF to work. That was her point.
Oh, there's an overlap in what sense, Rebecca? So what I was thinking about this is that I was making the differentiation because what I think is that local people that live in San Francisco, right? They are going from A to B to different places within San Francisco, right? Either they walk or they take BART, or they drive, right? Locally from a lot of places within the city. And the goal of this bicycle sharing is to actually provide them with an alternative so that they don't use so much transportation, like BART or their car. And the difference with outsiders is that these outsiders come on the weekends for an event in San Francisco. Maybe they want to go to a restaurant, maybe they want to go to the theater. So it's not like every day, right? So the difference is that these people, local to San Francisco, they may be using the bikes like more often, right? Every day during the week. And the outsiders, and for 30 minutes, just from go to A to B, the outsiders may come to San Francisco for hours, right? So if they come, in the morning and they want to get back home at night after having dinner in San Francisco, they'll be here an entire day, where these people live here already. And so the day pass is targeted to these people, whereas the single ride share or the annual membership, maybe for these people, local in San Francisco, right? Like these guys here probably, the ones that come on the weekend, it's not so much planned, and then you have the employees that may need to go from BART or from any station to work, right? And for them, probably the annual membership makes more sense. Does that help?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and Melanie, I'm also aware that this app is the bike stations where the bikes are kept are mostly near BART stations. So
they're actually all over the place, not only.
yeah, so I work in Oakland and I take BART to office, and when I get down at Lake Merritt BART station, there's a stand there which I could take probably to walk. Instead of walking, I could take that to my office, and they
Right.
have a off location.
Exactly. So that's why I made the distinction, because based on the programs, on the plans that they have, single day and annual, it seems that they're targeting this type of usage, this type of users, right? So, I wanted to keep in mind what the goal of users, and I wonder if you agree that they don't, they would take the bike because they don't want to wait for Uber, or they don't want to wait for a taxi, or they don't want to walk to BART or whatever. The bike is there, let's go. And there's also this element of having control over your time or when you leave or stay. And also the idea that it's people. Do you guys agree? Are there any other motivations why they would use this ride sharing?
I think one motivation that kind of is working for people taking the ride sharing also is like non-ownership. Like people just don't want to own the transportation, vehicle. They're like, I don't want to deal with, owning an actual bike and then putting a lock on it, finding a place to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like a renting versus owning mentality. I think that's kind of like underplay here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, another aspect is just the experience. A lot of people ride bicycles as kids, and then maybe they stop riding bikes later on. And so if these people are coming in, like you're mentioning, outsiders or tourists, if tourists are coming in the city and they want to experience the city, but they don't necessarily want a bike, and driving in a car or bus they'll miss out on a lot of the city between A and B. A bike gives them this experience of freedom that's very unique to a bicycle.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's a cost element here as well. Like compared to all the other options, even public transportation, for a very short distance, a distance that you can't maybe cover on foot, but you don't really need a car for it. I think the bike is very suitable.
Yeah.
And also very inexpensive for these rates.
Cheaper. Yep. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so I think we covered those customers. Let's talk about the competition, because you just brought that up also. So competition. There are a bunch of things here, right?
Walking.
Sorry, what did you say, Wesley?
Walking.
Walking, for one. There's also public transportation.
Bike rental companies.
I'm sorry?
Bike rental companies that are geared towards tourists.
Bike rentals.
Your own bike, I mean, you can have your own transportation. Car rental, car sharing.
Your own car, right? Yeah, all these things, right? So this is the competition. Now, okay, so let's look at, things that I put there, but I actually haven't used, but maybe you guys think of something is, what are the hurdles, potential hurdles of using this bike sharing for people? One to me is, and that's why I would never use them, is unsafe traffic. So I don't feel safe with people driving around me. So that would be one, right? So you will have to convince me that this is safe. The other thing is high crime. So unless I'm convinced that it's safe in terms of crime, I probably won't do this. The price has to be right. Price must be competitive. The other thing is, yeah, those three things.
The fitness level, the people would use it.
Fitness level.
Yeah, I would also say, and I don't know which bike company you're looking at. There are sometimes some setup, things. So I was in Toronto, no, not in Toronto, Vancouver, and they asked me to kind of download an app, sign up there, then use a QR code that works on the bike. I was like, man, this is a lot. Kind of like,
yeah, it has to be like low barrier, right? Low barrier to rent.
Yeah, and sometimes these bikes want your credit card. So I don't know if everybody has a credit card handy and if they are okay to doing that. I know that's the only way they'll allow, but or that's one of the way they allow right now.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to put that out there so we have that in mind. Okay?
And also easy access.
Easy access.
Easy access and availability. Like, I mean, if it's not available, then what's the point?
Yeah. Very important. So lots of bikes. Okay. All right, so we just put this out there, and now we have sort of like a bigger picture, of this. Like, who are the customers? First of all, what the product does in terms of these short rides. The customers, they don't want to wait, have control, have something cheaper, exercise. They don't want to own a bike. Now we have, these different types of users, right? And the competition, which there are all these forms of way of somebody moving within the city. So if you want to launch this, right? So let's look about the goal of the launch. Let's talk about the goal of the launch. So the goal of, if I'm launching this in San Francisco, first of all, I think because it's something new, you have to worry about awareness, right? People might not be aware that this is happening. So I wasn't aware until recently. So maybe the goal is awareness first, right? And then the other one is to actually, convince them, right, to use the service, which is grow the user base. Because I'm sure there's a lot of capital involved in this. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think those are good goals.
All right.
That just reminds me of just the basic funnel of acquisition, activation, engagement, retention, and monetization.
Right.
As a framework. So just that basic funnel.
Yeah.
Because conceivably you could launch this with a bunch of free rides and put retention at the end in order to remove that friction point for people. That could be one solution. So it's just good to think of that whole funnel.
Right. So basically you're saying, awareness, acquisition of your base, retaining your base, monetizing them.
Yeah, awareness and activation. That's that point where like they have to download the app. They have to either put in their credit card or maybe not. Maybe you remove that friction in the beginning. But they actually have to use whatever
right.
If they create their user profile, then engagement would be them actually using it to use a bicycle, having them come back, and then having them pay for it.
Yes. So it's the entire...
But in terms of like, if somebody asked us just to launch this product, I mean, where should we stop? Should we say, hey, you know what? We're going to do the awareness and we're going to have a big launch, and that's kind of about it. Like, I mean...
So if you're at the beginning of this, if I were to launch this, I want to recoup my money.
Yes.
What I want to do is to grow it as much as possible as I can, as soon as possible.
Got it. Okay, makes sense.
Don't worry about. Okay, let's say that the goals are this awareness and growth of the user. not worry about retention right now. I think that's down the line.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like that may be very far from the launch itself.
So let's go to now what's going to be our strategy to achieve this, right? So to me, the strategy that I would apply to raise awareness and grow user base, you know, this is something new, right? So I think people need to be convinced, right? So my strategy to raise awareness would be to expose benefits to target users at the point where they are contemplating choices for transport. I think that's when I want to say, hello, I exist. I could be a better option for you than the taxi or Uber or anything else.
Hey, Milena, can I maybe for 30 seconds give an idea of how to tackle from here?
Yep.
Just my idea and we can retract.
Yes.
So I was thinking, how did Uber kind of like launch? So Uber used to go to a new city and completely start from fresh because they were just copying a model to each new city. And I feel like what they used to do is like go and recruit the drivers there, the black cars, and even give them money so that they're just available on the Uber network. And then when there were enough drivers, there would be customers who would come in and they would create that marketplace going on, right? Plus, I was just thinking from a marketing perspective, they were following those 4 Ps. So they had a product that was very differentiated and it was very clear what this product can do. You can call things from a phone, which no other cab can do. And, it comes in 2 minutes. So it's a very fast response rate, right? The other thing is they were placing this product in the right places. So their network density was the highest near airports or major centers. So you may not find an Uber initially in far-flung places, but when they started, say, in a new city, it would absolutely be available in the most high-traffic areas. Then I was thinking doing a lot of promotion, like get $10 off if you refer a friend, get $50 off. Like I used to get so many promotions. So they were doing this promotion to get the virality initially in the network. Otherwise, they didn't have any. And in terms of the price, I mean, they were discounting the price a lot initially. I mean, I remember I used to get like $3, $4 rides initially. I mean, without promotions. Because then in my mind, it was said, man, the cab is $10. This is $3. I should take this.
Right.
So I'm just saying we could, to answer this question, because it's more of a tactical question, like how do you launch this stuff, right? Once we understand what the product is, then we can say, hey, you know what? There are these marketing tactics to kind of like launch anything, to launch, But I'll stop there.
So I think that, what you mentioned, and you were quite right when you're saying that Uber was doing all these tactics. What they had in mind behind that is to actually offer the new product to people that they knew were at that moment.
Okay, yeah, that I agree.
Where they either take a taxi or they take new thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's a similar strategy that I'm proposing, right? But we have to think like Uber, right? Like Uber thought, okay, who are the people that need taxis, right? That need to go from place to place B? People that go to conferences. They were, for example, in South by Southwest, right? They were doing that for free, right?
That was a big use case,
And the other thing, okay, so if we need to do this, then comes the operational part that Amy was talking about, which is we need to have cars available. How do we do that?
Yeah, exactly.
So that has to be in place, right? But I think that everything comes from my perspective, everything comes from asking yourself, where is our target user? when is the moment to connect with the user? How can we connect with the user? And what do we say to them? Right? So the way I was approaching this was by thinking, okay, where are our users when they need this? And then so those marketing channels and activities to reach them, right?
Yep, makes sense.
So, just to put some structure and some, how can I say, explanation of why we're doing what we're doing, right? I think marketing is always driven by actually, when, where, what the user is doing. So, any other thoughts that you guys have before I continue? Okay. So I was thinking about the way that I was structuring this was saying, asking the question, when, where, when, where, the other was like, and why, why would the three types of users that we have prefer to use the ride sharing, right? At that moment, like what are they thinking? Okay. And so I started with the locals. The locals users that live in San Francisco. So what do? They, in general, I think that people, especially the ones that are taking one ride, they just want to go somewhere that is like 5 miles, around them. On any occasion. And I think that the things that they usually do, it's like, they might go to the museum, for example, or theater, or any kind of entertainment. And today what they're doing is they're taking Uber, or maybe they're walking, or doing that. So at this point, what will convince them to take the bike? Right? So, I mean, that would be a good moment to proposition them, and say, at moments when they are looking to go to the theater, right? Taking a ticket, going and buying a ticket online, or maybe, What was that? Somebody say something? So, okay, so one thought is like, if they're taking tickets, right? That's the moment to show them, to reach them, okay? Getting tickets online. Maybe they're going, maybe they're going to the hospital or to some other, public place. That's also the moment to remind them, right? That they can take this transportation. The other thing is when they're parking. That's another moment where they can be reminded that, hey, you don't need to park your car. You could have just taken this bike, to get where you wanted to get. Maybe let's see. Then in terms of the employees, employees that have to go from bar to the office and forth can be, reminded also. Employees taking bar can be reminded also of this new service. It could be on companies' pages, or with the company. Excuse me. Let's see. Yeah, when they're reading the company page. I don't know. at Adobe, then we had our internal company page, and there were always daily news.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another opportunity, right? Reminder. Where do people go? Stations, BART stations.
The actual BART cars themselves.
BART cars. I was thinking, people are driving in the car, but guess what? They're listening to the news. So maybe NPR, like a national radio station. Okay, so then thinking about this, then we can think about the different marketing activities to reach different channels. Then we can start thinking about online channels, online, inbound, maybe. And we can also think about offline. So let's see, what do you have here? So and there's also this. Let's bring this back. Let's bring the pre-launch. So actually, let me structure this a little bit better. Let's do a pre-launch. And here is where we can divide this into what Amy was saying, operational stuff, and maybe, actually, what would you call that? Direct marketing? So instead of operation,
I would think, yeah, I would think, maybe in terms of pre-launch, usually what companies I think do is they start thinking of the channels, like which channels should we choose to push this product? Like what kind of marketing do we need to do? Do we need to do a push marketing or like a pull? And then they start thinking about like advertising spend. Like, do we kind of like, yeah.
I think that this analysis, right? So, for example, the museum stuff, that would be, it could be SEM, or it could be display ads, and that's what you're mentioning, Himanshu, as online, right? Do you follow?
Yes.
So instead of structuring into online and inbound and outbound, I'd rather think about what we're trying to do, how to reach them, and then we can categorize it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, for example, I was thinking for the museums, it could be SEM, it could be display ads on the websites. And I'm thinking websites like, basically hub spots for events, for tickets or for events. And in those websites, the ads can be shown saying, hey, in order to get to your event, you can take this bike or whatever. Then I was thinking in terms of parking, in the parking meters, display information, on the screen of the meter, or outside, or a label. Yep. To remind them. In terms of the employees, Wesley mentioned, bar in the station, so that could be, a signage, digital signage. in stations. For example, also we can, they can partner with companies, huge companies, right, that are more of the riders, to display as part of employee page. And then NPR rating. So, and then of course, we can combine this now, and we can say, okay, so we have sort of like an inbound and an outbound. Let's start with outbound. In outbound we'll have SEM and display ads. For special HubSpot websites, perhaps websites related to entertainment, art, maybe food, restaurants, whatever. We'll have the parking. Well, this is not online. This is not inbound. We can have we're doing outbound. Outbound would be the parking, display on parking meters. It could be a company pick. And then inbound, it's again, the SF, the Ford website. Can have like, a page, a blog, maybe, testimonials.
Yeah, I would even say like tech writers or some kind of, blogs or travel blogs, health blogs that talk about this stuff, like for them to write content for us, so that to kind of like create awareness.
Like third party.
Yeah, third party bloggers, like, or magazines, that care about this kind of stuff. Like, for example, what I'm saying is like when products get launched, what do they think about? They're thinking about some big tech writer to talk about their product, because that's what people are reading.
Yeah.
Like maybe this comes on Reddit, and then people are like, oh, okay, I mean, there's a nice new bike sharing which is getting launched. I'm interested.
Yeah.
And somebody who has some authority may write about it, and then there's a buzz. The other thing I was thinking is, Milena, usually for launch, at least here at Microsoft, we guys think a lot about like an event, like a moment.
Mm-hmm.
You launch a new bike service maybe at a new year because people have health resolutions. So you can tie that with like, hey, why are you counting your steps? You could count your calories on our bike, right? And have your health resolution through our bike. Or you could say, well, Fitbit is launching a new Fitbit, and you can say, well, this syncs with the bike. I'm just thinking out loud. Like, then you can say, well, that's the story. Maybe health is the story, or maybe it's something else. You say, well, BART is opening up a new station, or they are doing a big moment, or the mayor of of San Francisco is coming out and saying we want to promote, bicycle programs, and we have a new partner, or we have a new company that is doing this. So then it becomes this big moment that you guys can align with for a launch. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, that could be partnerships with offline events. That's what I call PR.
Yeah.
Although another important thing is partnerships, and I would say, for example, partner with Google on Google Maps, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So if they can share there, Google Maps is used by so many people, that would be a good way. Let's see, what else is there? Any other ideas that you guys have?
I think Rebecca has an idea.
Hey, Rebecca, what about partner with the companies against San Francisco and offer the employees a discount code? Yes, and I think that exists actually already. So they're partnering with companies.
I think partnering with the city will be a big draw, Like this company Pronto, partnered with Seattle City, and they were able to get a lot of like buzz around their new program. Plus, they were able to get some discounts from the government as well.
They're doing that. The other thing that I wanted to touch is what Amy was talking about, which I think is the pre-launch. So basically, you need to have stations and you need to have enough bikes, right? Otherwise, this is not going to work. So let me delete this. So let's talk pre-launch. Any thoughts here? Amy, you still there?
Yes. Sorry, what was the question?
So what do you think for pre-launch?
Yeah, I think, making sure that we have the right amount of bikes at high traffic stations.
Yeah.
And also like that, we have other bike stations that are within a bikeable distance, so that we guys can follow the 30-minute thing.
That's part of the product, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What other thoughts come to mind here? One of the things that I was thinking about is like, hey, people are not using this. This is a new type of idea, right? People are going to be sort of hesitant to jump on board. So for pre-launch, I would say have some like pre-program where people can use them for free, like free pre-program, so that pre-launch, just to get people used to seeing people using this, and get saying, hey, I can do that. If this person that is 90 years old is doing that, maybe I can do it too. For somebody like
yeah, I would even say like hire actors who would just drive your bikes all around the city, and then have like that's gonna create the buzz.
That's not a bad idea. Okay.
I also think we need proper customer service in place.
Oh yeah. Oh, something that just occurred to me here in the marketing activities. I was thinking also of viral marketing. So refer to two friends. Get one. Something that Wesley mentioned also in terms of operational was payment, right? Payment options and ease of payment.
I mean, one side idea I have is like sometimes negative press about your competitor can be very helpful. So Uber is always in the news about something negative happening, or like ride sharing. And these companies like bicycle sharing or whatnot it's called, they could leverage on that. They could be like, hey, you know what? Uber doesn't give you this. We guys offer you this, which is so unique, and we are doing good for the environment and for the economy. Whereas Uber is like this evil company. So I'm just saying, like, I mean, there's so much bad press that competitors leverage on all the time.
Okay, so leverage on competitors, but
yeah.
The other one thing I was thinking is that the city, and I think as a user like me, for example, I had accidents in bike. Unless I'm convinced that the bikers are being given priority lanes, and it's a biker-friendly city, I probably wouldn't bike. So I would say, this is making sure, like, the city city streets instrumented for bikers or planned.
Yeah, I think that's very good.
Maybe with special routes. Anyways, so the idea is the following. I think that the whole flow is like, we started with thinking about, okay, how can we reach those users that are at the moment of making decisions about transportation, and where we can remind them, hey, there's this alternative you haven't tried. It could be, and these are the situations that we looked at. Based on those situations, then we were thinking, okay, so what are the channels that we can use to reach them at that moment? From that, we came to here, and we're thinking, okay, so now we have this outbound and inbound type of marketing activities, as well as offline, some PR. And we were also thinking about, okay, so what needs to be in place, even before any of this, in terms of the operations. We were this list, right? And so the next step, and we're running out of time, but the next step after doing this will be to go through this list of marketing activities and start prioritizing them, right? And one way that I think is, for this case, for awareness, would be to prioritize based on the size, the number of people that you can target by it, as well as how frequent, right? Volume and frequency. And that would be sort of like the, if we're looking at ROI, right? What's going to give me my best return? So I would look at volume of people that I can target plus frequency. And in terms of investment, I would look at the cost of advertising. And we'll make then that decision based on how I will put this high or low. Very simple when you're in the interview. And then of course you will pick the one which the highest return for lowest cost. Any thoughts on that?
I think that's a good approach, because we can propose so many ideas, but they need to be cost effective, like this work.
Yeah. This is a kind of long question, but if they probably will ask you multi questions, right? And like how are you going to prioritize your marketing activities? And then after that, well, how are you going to make sure that it's working, right? So now you have to come up with metrics based on how to do.
Got it. Hey, Malena, just before we leave, I wanted to understand, is there a need for us to do a pre-launch, at launch, and post-launch kind of a thinking? Because in a separate, I think in Gail's book, I had seen this thing, what she was trying to do, and just my recollection is pre-launch, at launch, what will you do? And then post-launch, again, as you mentioned, how will you measure your success or effectiveness? Do we have to bring that also within the question? Or is it something more of a...
I personally need to have a feel, the most way of completing your question, right? If you think that the interviewer is getting bored, right, you need to have a strategy where you make your answer shorter. Because as you say, this could be long, right? So maybe the fastest way to do this is to say, hey, okay, so these are all the channels in which we can get them. Forget about pre-launch, launch and post-launch. Say, this is the way we can get them, but before we do that, this needs to be in place, and this operationally, this has to be in place. So maybe just divide it into two aspects. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah. All right, I think we reach our time. How do you feel about this question, guys?
Good.
After the question, my thinking still is that we could maybe simplify this question or the response a lot. We should probably try to understand, you're right, who the competitors are, what the product is, who the target audience is. And then from there on, we should just treat it as if it was consumer good or a bike sharing or Uber or anything, but we should just go in and then say, we understand what the product is, which is gonna think about the promotion, the right price, and the placement, and then go for it like bang, bang, bang. Like rather than thinking as deeply as we did. But I could be completely wrong. I mean, it's just my.
I don't know. Well, maybe. I think that if you get a knack for it after a while, you can do what you are doing, what you are just suggesting.
Yeah.
My fear is that I myself would not understand what I'm doing and why am I throwing all these marketing activities without a reason. And they could ask me, well, why are you doing this, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Otherwise, it becomes a very mechanical answer. Like, I'll just apply this framework and something will.
Then everything sounds the same, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So,
I agree.
All right. I hope that this was useful for you guys.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.